I'd like to officially call to order the meeting of the Park and Downtown Improvement Corporation. We'll begin the meeting with an invocation from J.C. Jackson. If you'll please stand.
Heavenly Father, we come to say thank you. Father, we thank you for your many blessings. Thank you for looking down on us and taking care of us. Father, we ask you to continue to bless us and move forward in this decision making for the near future. We're looking at all our decision making. Bless this moment as we move forward. All this we ask in our Son, Jesus' name.
Amen. If you'll please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. All right. Up next on the agenda, we have an opportunity to hear from visitors. I know we have some on the agenda. Are there any additional remarks? All right, this time I'll ask our board to review the minutes from our September meeting. Once you've had a chance to do so, I'll entertain a motion to approve. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heisel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next on the agenda, I'll call on Raylan for our financial report.
Good morning. Just a quick update for your end of year. Our staff was in TML this week, and so everyone's starting to make their way back. I assume that's where Stephanie still is as well. So on your cover page, you do have the audited end of year for 2023, so that'll kind of be the starting point. But you will get your end of year financials from the assistant city manager next month. So what you have is just, obviously, we haven't spent a lot of money in the last 30 days, which is good, or I guess the last 11 days from October 1st. But you do have the setup budget. A couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention. Facade reimbursements, no payment out in your development. Partnerships, I'm just kind of showing you what your available balance is going to be, minus the approved reimbursements. The last reimbursement that you agreed to last month, which was Southland Building, I am working with accounts payable to have that be a fiscal year 24 expense. So in your end of year, you'll see that come out of last year's budget. And so that'll give you a new budget for this year. But just some notes that we made on there, as we withdraw one of the economic development contracts, and then also maybe doing some line item transfers over to the park capital projects, just trying to move some money around internally between your line items to balance that up. So those are those notes there on that page. So we'll continue just to monitor that. And I'll update you where all of those monies end up as we approve the additional park projects. The other one that I wanted to bring your attention to is when you do go over to the park capital improvements, that's kind of where we're keeping up with that budget detail of the expenses that you've approved for this fiscal year. So we'll just make sure that that budget line item reflects that. Your engineering line items, just to kind of give you an update, we are looking at Breezy Hill Park this year. I know that the parking lot is a main project for you, and then also looking at a splash pad concept. So in October, I'm taking the Polk Street abandonment to City Council so that once we abandon that portion of Polk, then I'll have KSA go out and resurvey that entire area to make sure that we're looking at the right location for the parking lot and that we're taking all of the land in. So that was one of the missing pieces. And so as soon as we get the abandonment approved by council this month, we'll start on the engineering of that property and making sure we've got placement for everything.
This is an important time to kind of pause and focus on the budget as we are beginning a new fiscal year. So if you'll go back to page 6, if I'm looking at this correctly, at the end of fiscal year 2024, let's see. So total at the top, total revenue. Raylan, what's the difference between the actual column and the actual audited? Because those are very different.
So in 2023,
Oh, that's right.
yeah, so that was fiscal year 2023, and that's letting you know that that number is what it went through the audit. So
Okay.
those numbers will not change, and so just making sure that we note that. And then your actual for fiscal year 2024 is what we are showing in our books, which will not be audited until this year, for your revenue and expenses.
So I'm surprised to see that the 2024 sales tax was less than the 2023 sales tax.
We did see a reduction in sales tax. We've been talking a little bit about that just with the EDC as well. Just the spending was down a little bit, so.
And then a significant decrease in interest income.
I do believe that that amount will come up. That was just what was budgeted, and so we have not gotten that investment number yet. It should be closer to your audited and your budget number.
So we overspent. I think there was some intentionality in that because we were building up quite a reserve. So we showed a net loss of $629,000 in 2024. Is the bottom two numbers our cash position at beginning of year and end of year?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So we ended the year at a cash position of a little over 2.6 million.
Yes.
So now if you look at our next column for the budget going into this fiscal year, we're expecting, it looks like a slight increase in sales tax income and a significant increase in interest income for total revenue of 1.19 million. We're again projected to spend some of our reserve. Is what's shown all committed projects, or are there some filler?
There is some filler. You've got quite a bit filler that's remaining in your development partnerships. By next month, after this presentation on the park capital, I think that we'll be able to balance out that development partnership in your park capital. And you will not have this level of expenditures because we did eliminate the additional economic development contract. So you're gonna have
Okay.
some savings on there.
Okay, so so of the 1.5, do we know what's committed today?
Of the 1.5, you only have the remaining 40,000 for the BMT Center, which is the project there on South Rockwall. So what I was going to try to show is a $500,000 expense line here rather than the $1.5 million. And so that would give you the $500,000 left to allocate throughout this year. So rather than your original 1.5 budget for this line item, I'm proposing to move $250,000 over to your park capital projects, cancel your economic development agreement, and that would leave you with $500,000 in development partnerships, and the only expenses that are allocated to date is just the BMT Center, because you would be paid up, because that would include Southland and anything we've done so far.
Your proposal would be $500,000 available to spend in total development partnerships for the entire fiscal year?
Yes,
Okay.
in
October 1. Yes. Yeah.
Does these figures for '24 include Southland?
Southland was paid out last fiscal year, so the Southland that you approved in September will not come out of this $500,000 budget this year.
In the 300,000, 304,662, or no? I wonder. Or that top line that says not applicable but shows a $398,000 expenditure. It's 200 something?
Yeah, the 239. So in the improved reimbursements, it is currently showing that 239 to include Southland, But I do believe they were able to get that out of fiscal year '24. I'm just waiting on that. So
It's not added in here?
Right.
Okay.
Well, Raylan, I wonder, so like the maybe sixth line item down on expenditures, there's no detail, but it shows a 230,702 expenditure. But next to it, it says NA. I
Nay.
don't know if that's on the wrong line or if that could be Southland.
I will have to figure out where that's pulling from.
I'd be curious about that top NA item.
Oh, that NA, that is going to be from your fiscal year '24 actual. That NA in the blank line is your Pena development, which we don't even have that line item going into. So that was the payments made at Hummingbird.
Okay, so
And
that
that-
was cash out.
Yes,
So that whole line is Hummingbird?
yes, yeah, that was. Yeah,
Was that for exterior?
the windows.
Oh, so
Yeah.
not Hummingbird.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, so you've got Anderson, and then we also paid out, but where it's blank, because I didn't even want to include that, where it's blank in fiscal year '24, that was your Pena development line item. Yeah.
398 is both buildings? Is that what y'all are saying? No?
398 was the Anderson, and then the blank one,
Next to park capital improvements?
yeah, under that,
Oh,
the 230 is going to include some of the Hummingbird expenses.
what did we reimburse on the Hummingbird? Do you remember?
Y'all did the fire system, you did, I've got a list of items that were approved. Fire sprinkler, the alarm system, grease trap, and I think windows there as well. But it was all contingent upon them getting a lease agreement on the first floor.
And they did. It's been paid.
Yes, yeah. Yes. The 230,702, yeah. And I'll make sure that's a lot clearer moving forward. Missed that.
Any other questions for Raylan on the proposed budget? It says adopted budget. I guess y'all adopted this last meeting. Have we adopted it?
Yeah, you adopted it back in June, I think, yeah.
I have one question. On the interest income, what determined the interest income?
So we do hold the cash balances in interest-bearing accounts and also some of our money market. So Paddock cash balances are invested throughout the year, and so we'll get that interest income estimate from finance, and you'll have that number next month.
I know actually for 2024, it's like 2,400.
Yeah, that was just a budget number. It was more or less just kind of like a holding spot. You can see in 2023, we actually made 33,000. So in '25, we're trying to be a little bit more realistic in what we anticipate the interest being. I think in years past, the city has just kind of held that 2,400 as an estimate just throughout the budget process.
Said it was actually more, and so Mr. Mills is going to get us an actual
Yeah.
number by our next meeting. 'Cause
It'll be closer to that $30,000 number.
Just so our board knows, the sales tax that is paid to the city, the total amount is available for public view on the state comptroller website. And if you remember, we get 1/8 of that amount, and the rest goes to the type A. So it helps us kind of, I mean, it would be helpful for us to follow the trends of what it's being paid. I didn't realize it had come down over the past year. Any other questions about the budget? All right, thank you. Budget financial report will be approved as presented. At this time, we'll discuss and consider a downtown revitalization opportunity for a matching grant for 115 Westmore Avenue, and for that, I'll call on Raylan.
So I'm going to introduce you to the lovely Beverly Gentry. We have been talking off and on about Hummingbird, 115 Moore Avenue. Beverly is here to talk to you about Lula Mays. So this will be a restaurant. They currently are already leasing the space. They're under construction. We did walk through with the building official and fire marshal a few weeks ago. So those plans have been submitted. They're well on their way to a building permit. So we thought that this would be a great time for her to come before the board and talk to you a little bit about her project.
Good morning. I'm Beverly Gentry, and as she said, we're looking at opening a restaurant in the Hummingbird building. It's going to be called Lula May Bistro. Lula May was my great-grandmother, and so I learned to cook sitting on her counter, watching her. And then when I went to high school, later there was a little restaurant that I used to go to that was a bistro, and they made everybody feel really special. And so for 40 years in the financial industry, I have wanted to start a restaurant. And so my daughter has been in the restaurant business over 25 years, and she will serve as our general manager and tell me what to do, tell me what I can't do. And what I wanted to share with you this morning is if you look at the first visual, that will show you what the restaurant is going to look like. And when you walk in the front door, to the right, there will be a to-go area. So if people downtown want to grab a muffin, grab a quiche, grab something along with a cup of coffee, they don't have to wait. And so they can have that little to-go area similar to what they had at La Madeleine. You know, you can see those areas. To the left, there will be banquet seating along the wall, and then there will be a full-service bar for the evenings and the brunches so that when people come there, they can enjoy a cocktail if they'd like. And then there will be a meeting room on the right side toward the back. There's a meeting room that will seat many people. They've got, I think, 20 there now, but it would be like for meetings, for, you know, showers, things like that, that people could come and have a nice private place that they could entertain people. And then you can see the kitchen and everything. There's also a patio off of the bar area that will have like 4 tables that people can come out there and interface. I shared the business plan with Raylan, and also she may have shared a copy of that with you, but basically what we're looking at is some French food, but mostly Southern food, salads, quiches, sandwiches. In the evenings, we're going to have steaks and chicken and some other fare. You know, it'll be a nice place, but not so nice that people don't feel comfortable. One of the things I had told Tori is that I wanted people who were high schoolers on a budget all the way through someone who wants to sit down and have a steak dinner to come in there and feel comfortable. And that's really what I'm trying to put together on it. After that is the marketing plan. And one of the most important things that I've focused on as we were planning this out is not just the numbers of what it will cost to get it started and what it will cost to maintain it, but also what it's going to cost to bring some people downtown that we don't have as much traffic as we need. We're starting to grow. We've got some great places down there with a whisked away bakery, some of the other restaurants that have gone in, a lot of places that are really nice places, and we need to bring some people to the downtown area. So a lot of the money that I want to spend is on social media, understanding some of the marketing plans, doing flyers, calling on different places, spending my time going out trying to bring people to downtown, and that will really encourage people to come and spend time there. Then the next section is the equipment list. That's the hard part. As I was building this out and looking at what it was going to cost to build, I'm up to about $297,000. I think all in it's going to be about $300,000 to get it started. And that's with the build out, with stocking the, restaurant with everything, putting together a full-service bar, everything's going to be about $300,000. I'm still waiting on some of the bids to come back, but currently we're at about $297,000. And then I've also provided, basically within that, there's the front of the house versus the kitchen. The kitchen, of course, is going to be the major expense. That's over $100,000 now. And we're looking at hiring a consultant that will look at not just our menu, but also at the kitchen layout to make sure that we have the right equipment, we don't buy equipment we aren't supposed to use, and that we have really done a good job of putting together something that the community is going to enjoy, as well as that will be beneficial and be cost-effective. So I'll stop there and see if anybody has any questions so far. And then I did also include at the back of the book, there are a couple of sample menus. Those are contingent on our consultant approving them, because some of them are pretty extensive. But basically, as I said, there are quiches, there are sandwiches, steaks. We will be open, we'll close Monday. We'll be open Tuesday through Sunday. On Tuesday and Wednesday, we will close at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll have breakfast, brunch, and lunch. And then starting on Thursday through Sunday, we'll have dinner included along with that. We feel like the majority of our income is probably going to come from the brunch. There are not a lot of opportunities in the Terrell area to have brunch, and I think that that's going to pull in most of our income and revenue.
Maybe you can point me if I'm just overlooking it. Do you have somewhere in here what your operating expenses are monthly on this?
If you look in the business plan, basically, it's going to tell you that the average plate is going to be between $15 and $30. We need to service approximately 100 to 120 people per day, and our revenue over the life will be probably, we are proposing $1 million for the first year and probably up to $1.2 million the second and third years. And so you'll see in the business plan, there's a little more information about that.
Do you mind, if you're not comfortable sharing this information, that's
That's okay.
totally fine. But do you mind telling us what your rent is going to be in that space?
It's expensive. It's going to be approximately $10,000 a month. And I think that starting in year 2, that's not going to be insurmountable, but I think probably for the first year, it's pretty high. Does that, okay. Absolutely. I wish it were not. But you know what? That building is just an opportunity, I think, to bring some business to downtown that we really need in our community. You know, Jim and I came here over a year ago to restore an old home, and we are at the Warren Mansion at 9th and Griffith Avenue. And it took us 14 months to restore that home. And then I decided, you know, I'm going to make this my home. This is my community. And there, you guys are working on the downtown area. You can see the work happening. And I think I wanted to make a difference. And I came here wanting to make a difference for the community.
Capacity.
About between 120 and 125.
In size of the space, square footage?
Just under 5,000, so it's 46 plus change, I think.
If I may say, interrupt.
Here, you want to step?
Oh, Mike.
Thank you.
The expectation.
This is Jim, everybody.
Hi, I'm Jim. The expectation of the customer today in a nice restaurant is pretty high. And you can tell that if you go out on the highway, there's Chili's out there and places like that. And if you've been in those restaurants, they're nice. Now, some of the menus are more bar-like, I think, but, and Beverly has a different vision of that, but I think the restaurant needs to have that upscale, nice look. And so if any of you have been to our home, and I'm sure some of you have, she doesn't do anything halfway. It's all first class. And she's a very good decorator. So it will have a good ambiance. And if we're going to attract other businesses, and we certainly need other businesses to support this business, so if we're going to attract those better businesses, they need something to look at that's nice. And so every inch of this place has her touch, and it's going to be nice, as you can see from the floor plan. And to make sure that was done right, we hired an architect. We have a restaurant, what do you call it?
Restaurant consultant.
Consultant to help us with that. So to make sure that we've covered all the bases and done everything right. So it'll be something the city can be proud of, and we hope everybody will spend their money there. So thank you for letting me interrupt.
Really, I don't know if you know this, and I just want to address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is our experience with the Lyric and the investment we made in a business that broke our hearts when it didn't make. And I wanted to discuss just some observations I have about how this is different than that experience as we all kind of process that. The Lyric, didn't get to the point of serving food. This is a full-service restaurant. The Lyric, while we're all aware of what the rent was a building much smaller than the building we're looking at now. Another unique element of this building is there are tenants upstairs, 5 or 6 maybe?
There are 5, I think.
5 tenants, and then they most recently turned one of the units into an Airbnb. And within 24 hours of the listing, the Airbnb was booked, got their first booking. There are plans downtown for some more tenant-type opportunities. There's developers begging to buy some of our land downtown to put some multifamily units. That's outside of our purview, but all of that could feed this restaurant. From day one, we've asked for restaurants, and we have no new restaurants, full-service restaurants downtown Terrell yet. I think some more kind of heartburn, that we have with this is, and I haven't really heard an ask from you, maybe that's by design, but I believe we helped with the equipment for the Lyric. Did we end up doing some equipment, Raylan, for Lyric or Terrell Coffee?
I don't think we did.
No, fixtures, we did fixtures.
No fixtures.
No
That
fixtures.
was our decision on the
I think it
Lyric,
was
no
permanent.
fixtures, only permanent attachments to the building.
Permanent improvements.
12 months of 20% lease reimbursement. Okay, so that's maybe an opportunity to consider here. If any of the construction type improvements, if y'all want to consider any of that are permanent to the building. When the Lyric vacated the premises, I'm sure they took that equipment with them. So there's some risk in that if we were to participate. But we're also trying to help, might be trying to help a small business. So I need to hear some thoughts from the board on where you are.
Beverly, first, I would just like to comment and say, this is without a doubt the most comprehensive plan we have seen.
Thank you.
We appreciate you so much. And so whatever our discussions are as a board regarding financials, please know we are excited to have you, and we are, I can't wait. I can't wait. This is wonderful, and I appreciate the attention to detail and the intentionality that you have shown us. I think the challenge that I have is this is the first time that it has come before the board where we've already made a significant investment in that building itself, and then now we have a business coming in and having an ask on top of that. And I think that's just a situation we haven't had before, and that's going to require some consideration. The majority of your budget is going to be fixtures, which is something that as a board we've decided that we don't reimburse for. I kind of highlighted before we came in here. there were some things that I did think, matched what we have done for other people before. There were some electrical things that, again, it's very frustrating for us, and this has nothing to do with you, that we have already put so much money into that building for these things, and then now there's an additional expense plus what they're asking for you in rent. And that's why that was an important question for me. Where did that go? I would direct the board, page 24 of our packet, 24 of 76. That would be the list that would be like permanent things towards the building, and if we were gonna consider reimbursement, I would encourage us to fix on that. And I also would be interested in also discussing potentially a rent reimbursement agreement, since we have given money to the building instead of continuing to put money into that building, putting money into business. I would be comfortable having that
Set a
discussion.
precedent.
Yeah.
Beverly, I noticed on page 14 of our packet on, let's see, what is this chart titled? It doesn't have a title, but it's where you've listed your taxable sales, and then you show that the real property is leased. But next to that, you make a comment that with the improvements planned, it should impact the value of the building by maybe 175 or 200,000.
I do think so.
So talk to us about like those improvements. What's going to lift that
So I
value?
think that in the building right now, it's a shell. And so if you are having some of the partitions that we're putting in, one of the things that I would say is our intent is within 5 years, I'm going to sell that business because I'm 62 years old and I'm going to retire at some point. So either my daughter is going to want to buy it or someone else will want to buy it. And my hope is that the equipment that is there, that the infrastructure that I build out with the bar area, the to-go area, also the partition and the private room that we're putting in there, the infrastructure is a lot more honed in on a restaurant as opposed to, right now, it's a shell. So I think that's going to make a huge difference in the value of that building, should somebody want to purchase it to lease it out as a restaurant.
Sorry, Beverly, I've got all the questions this morning.
That's okay. That's good.
On your rent, what is the term of your lease right now?
It's a 5-year lease.
Okay, is that $10,000 rent consistent throughout, or is it a gradual?
It's a gradual. It starts at, I believe, 8,500, and then, and that's for the first 2 years, and then it graduates to the 10,000.
So the first year you'd be at 8,500.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Is that sorry, I'm a real estate broker. Is that a triple net lease, or is
It is triple
So
net,
you'll be responsible for the property taxes,
right.
building insurance? Okay,
The total, everything, all in, is 10,000.
okay. For this year, so depending, okay.
Do you feel comfortable about the number of quiches and steaks and drinks and all that had to be sold to?
I think, I think that at the 8,500, I have no issue, and I think that we will meet that. And I think that between catering, which we will do as well, to-go orders, and the fact that we will serve the business community downtown, we're looking at a delivery service for the downtown area, for example. So I do feel like we will have the business to support the 8,500. I do have some considerations about the 10. We will have to really build up downtown and build up the traffic to see that happen.
We keep drawing comparisons to the Lyric, same landlord, same owner. We didn't participate in the building for the Lyric. So we didn't, so in this one, we have participated in getting it ready for a tenant. But like Hillary said, so I think that's something else that we have to factor in.
So we incentivized the tenant because we didn't incentivize the landlord on that one. So I'm thinking out loud, sorry.
That's good. So we didn't do any money towards the fixing up of Lyric?
No,
We gave the Pena zero money. Our only investment in that business was the rent reimbursement for the tenant.
that's right. We incentivized the tenant, not the owner on that one.
Okay.
So a thought I have about that is the Hummingbird is two parts. I mean, there's tenants upstairs. That's where, I mean, there's windows up there, there's fire suppression up there. I mean, this is I kind of look at this as, it's one building, but has two different elements. So I agree with you. The Pena's, regardless that it's a Pena's,
Right,
the landlord has gotten probably all they're going to get for the building from us. But, you know, we have someone making as significant an investment in that building as the landlord has made. I think I'm sensing some consensus about rent reimbursement. We might need to handle this in kind of a few different votes. Is there any interest in participating in some of the construction improvements for the
What is
first floor?
Beverly expecting from us?
Yeah, what's the request?
Wasn't that eloquent what I just said? I know, right? So, you know, as far as expectations, I think that this is a wonderful program, and whatever you decide is going to be more than I had when I walked in the door. So I appreciate anything that you bring forward. I wish that I could have gotten into this for about $150,000 out of pocket. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. So my expectation or my hope is that at least part of that way, knowing what I can bring to the community and bring to the downtown area, that you guys would help out some with the build out and some of the, you know, basically some of the information and equipment even. My intention's not to take anything out of that building. 5 years from now, when I retire, I'm going to sell that business, and it's going to be a successful one. I don't do anything any other way.
And Beverly, maybe you can, I mean, you didn't come in here asking for a rent reimbursement. That was just.
No, I didn't.
Our idea. So what would be more helpful to you with knowing that we are willing to consider that? Would an initial reimbursement with your capital be more helpful, or would a sustained contribution be more beneficial, do you think?
I think both would be beneficial. I think the capital outlay when I'm starting is really a big portion of my concern and my worry, because I'm about twice in what I thought I was going to be, so. But if you wanted to do both, that'd be great. I'd be all excited.
Jim, it says you were a restaurant owner for 50 years.
No, I've been a businessman for, gosh, more than 50 years.
Okay.
I owned, when I was a young fella, and a little naive, I owned a pizza parlor and a barbecue restaurant. And most of you not old enough to remember, 1973, there was an oil embargo with OPEC, and President Nixon at the time declared a price freeze at retail. Well, my menu was retail, but he did not do it on wholesale. And being a naive young man who thought we should follow the rules and regulations, I didn't raise my prices, but the wholesalers raised their prices 20%, wiped out my margins. And then with the oil embargo happened, which is the reason they did the price freeze, I believe, my highway traffic went away, and I was dependent 80% on highway traffic, and then my catering business was dependent on oil companies, all of which were impacted by the OPEC. And I opened up, spent a bunch of money buying a restaurant when I was 24 years old, and proceeded to lose it all within a year and a half. And so I went on to retail and then real estate investment, and owned a online retail business when the internet came along in 1995. And so I've been running businesses of various kinds, including a manufacturing plant for since I got out of high school. And I've been a real estate investor since 1982, so a long time.
He's an overachiever.
Yeah, he's.
The last 10 years, I have been a real estate developer and syndicator. I take your money and I put it to work buying properties and renting them out and then paying dividends. And that's what I've been doing the last 10 years. And now I'm winding that down so that I can retire when she does. But to do a nice restaurant just costs money. But if we don't do it right, it ain't going to succeed. The rent's too high. We would like a $2,000 a month subsidy, and we would like about a third of our budget. With that, we think we can make it work without taking on debt, because that's the other elephant in the room. The business has to pay high rent and debt, plus payroll. It can be tight. Biggest problem we have is we just don't have the traffic downtown. And of course, the speed of the traffic downtown. Hopefully, they'll adjust the lights and slow some of that down, because it's a little scary getting in a car.
Amen.
Tell me again what you,
Everybody knows that. I'm not saying anything that's not. So
how much of your 2,000 in rent, and what was your second number?
a third of our budget, or around 100,000. Or another way, you could put it and say, hey, 150,000 up to 50% of what we actually spend might be less. But boards don't really like numbers that are in the air. I'll be quiet.
And I will tell you, I'm looking at some used appliances and things to put into the kitchen. I was born and raised at Bank of America back in the day, and I've been in the financial services for about 47 years. And so I'm very conservative when it comes to what I bring. The reason that I put this together and gave you guys homework is that I really wanted you to see what I'm doing to build out the infrastructure. My background is not in restaurants. My background is in the financial services industry, but my daughter has been a general manager and above at several different restaurants for the last 20-plus years. She's going to be our general manager, and I think that one of the reasons that I'm successful and have been is that I surround myself with people that know more than me, and then I listen to them. And so I really think that this will be successful for the community. You know, any assistance that you guys provide is going to be gratefully appreciated.
By the way, Beverly's been in, she won't toot her own home, but she's been taking baking and cooking classes for, gosh, 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
2 or 3 every year, so she can.
That's my quiche.
Beautiful.
So she knows what she's doing. Everything she makes is great.
And she didn't bring us a treat.
I know. You know, it is so funny you say that, Sarah. I got up this morning about 4:20 and just woke up and couldn't go back to sleep. And I thought, maybe I should make some of those blueberry biscuits to take. And I thought, how country is that? You know, because I'm pretty country.
Honey, that's Southern.
That is very Southern, isn't it?
So I'm going to kind of whittle it down for the board, and I'm going to make a recommendation. I did do a little homework, and so some of the items that I had pulled out on this, like I said, that page 24 where it's 43,000, and that is all towards things that stay with the building. And then on page 21, just so everybody can track with what I'm looking at, the 2 bar areas and the equipment installation is a total of 11,000. So with the 2 of those things combined, that is a $54,000 investment. And my recommendation to our board would be that if we are going to consider a 50% match, that it be for those items, and that we track with the precedent that we've set before to not reimburse for any kind of fixtures or appliances, things that are removable, but that we only reimburse for those fixed items.
So no inventory or personal property.
Right.
How much did you say that total was, Hillary?
54,000. It's the 43,000 for signage, which we have consistently reimbursed other businesses for, carpentry, painting, bathroom improvements, electrical work, and plumbing work. All of those things are consistent with what we have reimbursed other people for. That is, we typically do a 50% match. right? I mean,
When we say typically, I think we've done one. I mean, there is a precedent, and what we do here may be a precedent, but where my heart and mind are is we have got to transform some of these downtown buildings into restaurants, and there are very few buildings downtown that can handle a commercial kitchen, which is already in the works. That won't change. I mean, once there's a commercial kitchen set up, the future businesses will be surrounding that commercial kitchen. Other than Rio Lerma and Soldier's Daughter and possibly, hopefully, the Griffin Building, what's it called? Across from the Anderson Building? That might be a
The
restaurant.
food court.
Yeah, might.
Maybe.
And that's it. That's gonna be our restaurants downtown. So there will be one person that makes a significant financial contribution into this building that will turn it into a restaurant for the next 50 years, and that's Beverly. And so I hear what you're saying about the precedent, but we don't have a precedent. The Lyric was not a restaurant. Terrell Coffee was not a restaurant, a full-service restaurant. So I am tempted to stretch a little bit further on this huge building with a parking lot in downtown Terrell, because that does not exist in any other building in downtown. So I feel very, as you can tell, I feel very motivated to help this work. And for the contribution they're making and valid, like, if a year from now, things aren't what you think they are, you're gonna start selling that equipment, and we know that. If we have heartburn about that, we could have a discussion about filing a UCC on the equipment, and that equipment stays with the building because we have a lien on it, if that's important to y'all. But I would like to see us stretch more than $50,000 when they're making a $300,000 investment that really will be a one-time investment. And then in future restaurateurs are probably more in the $100,000 range if they want to change up the format. But she's putting walls, a door, that'll be new, a door leading to the outside patio.
It's already in, yeah.
Tell me where we have a patio in Terrell. Okay, well,
Well,
That's
kind of at
special.
Los Hermanos, but sort
Well,
of.
out there, right?
I know, but it's there.
the patio is on the west side of the building.
Right. And it's beautiful. It's got lighting, and it's got a lot of wrought iron. It looks like a speakeasy almost. It's really neat.
It's a little romantic.
It is.
I tend to interrupt, it's the developer in me. Is there some reason if you're funding equipment that you can't have an agreement that if they sell equipment, that 50% of the money comes back to the city? Is there not a reason you can't do that?
We haven't done it yet, but there's not a reason that.
I think you should. If you're gonna fund it, if I were, the developer in me is dang sure what I would do.
Yeah.
Because the money coming back to you funds somebody else. Think about it.
One thing maybe you mentioned, but I don't recall the timeline. When do you expect to be open?
I'd like to be open. I wanted to try to be open by Christmas. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks like January 1st.
I had heard on the street that you had that deadline, and I thought, oh my gosh.
I really would love for it to. What I wanted to do was I wanted it to be finished out enough that there are people in the community that either can't or don't cook for their holidays, and I'd love to have had a Thanksgiving dinner that was just a fixed price that was affordable, that people that are single or don't have anywhere to go could come and have dinner.
Don't like to cook.
Or don't want to cook. I don't think that I'll be able to do that this Thanksgiving, but next Thanksgiving and Christmas, I'm going to do that. I think that's important.
Yes. You know, I have a great feeling about this. I really want to see you succeed so badly.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't have a proposal to make. I was.
Well, let's kind of handle this in pieces. So the first item on the table is, do I have a motion for the rent reimbursement of 20% for the first 12 months, is that correct?
Yes.
Rent reimbursement for the first 12 months of 20%. Do I have a motion for
I
that?
will make that motion.
Thank you, Sarah. Is there a second?
So, sorry, before we vote, so 20% would be 1,700,
Okay.
right?
Of the
Does that sound right?
8,500?
Yes.
Mhm.
I will second that motion.
Thank you, Hillary. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. I heard 2 ayes, but no nays. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. All right, now it's for the reimbursement of investment. Go ahead, Hillary.
Well, let me back up.
Please.
Are we starting that 12 months in January, or are we starting that 12 months effective immediately? I think
Great
that's
question. After CO typically is when we would start the clock.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Good question.
What was your question? I was
So let's discuss
pondering.
how we want to frame a motion for reimbursement. And I think we're kind of all over the place on this.
Right, and of what? Okay.
Yeah, do we want to look at the items, or do we want to look at, there's a possibility to do a third, which is 100,000, and then there could be an opportunity to file a lien on the equipment, for a developer agreement that would require them to reimburse us for half, or you name it,
They sell.
if they sell to another restaurant, not necessarily, but if they have to sell the equipment or close doors or,
Do we need to get the city attorneys involved if we're gonna get into that territory?
Here's a couple of options, and yes, we would definitely have the development agreement designed and written by the city attorney. What you could do is, if you wanted to have a set amount, if you wanted to say $100,000, but it would be payable upon, just like the lease agreement, upon certificate of occupancy, so that you know that you have a business that is opening. She could submit reimbursement and invoices for any item that gets her the $100,000 reimbursement. And your development agreement would be kind of like we did the economic development contracts. It's, you must remain open for 12 or 24 months. If you do not, meet all of this criteria, then you are responsible to reimburse the paddock 50% of that initial investment. That way, you're not really getting into the weeds of what particularly is it that paddock is covering. You recognize that they've made a significant investment, you want to reimburse a particular amount, and that is due payable back to you if the business does decide to close. And so that just kind of protects your overall number, instead of having to worry about the actual equipment.
More of an umbrella.
Right. So, that way we're not having to tag or inventory specific equipment, but it's just more about having that business open. And so that would be more tagged to the business itself rather than equipment. So just a thought.
I do too.
I like that.
other thoughts from the board?
Is that something you feel like you could deal with?
Absolutely.
If no other conversation, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make the motion again
Okay.
for $100,000.
Are we gonna say 50% reimbursement not to exceed $100,000? Is that how we need to word that?
Help us with the wording.
Well, and really what
Raylan.
the ask is a third of the,
Yeah, it depends on, if you have a max, I would suggest you just go ahead and say whatever the amount is that you want to pay out. Because if you're saying, or a certain percentage of the invoices, now we're looking at what you spent that money on. And
Okay.
we're trying to make some determinations of what you're covering.
I don't want in that
Trying
business.
to clean it up a little bit with just, you will reimburse a set number based on investments to the business. So, and it wouldn't be a percentage.
And we are including kitchen equipment, inventory.
It would be
just
anything,
blank, Right, so,
She has to get the business open.
right. We would not be telling, or this or that, or, there's too much here.
right, that's what I
That you
was.
have to have. Well, no, but there is so much you have to have, and we're not in the restaurant business.
To set. So, when someone can come forward and show you what their investment is, then you can make a determination just on an amount instead of the actual item.
This is a development partnership. This is not a facade reimbursement. This is helping get a restaurant open in downtown Terrell. Because the initial costs of doing so are astronomical. You want to try that motion again?
I don't know. I got myself so confused.
All right.
Maybe Raylan could make the motion.
I think I understand.
Okay, you try.
And I think I can make a motion. So I make a motion that we consider approval for a $100,000 grant contingent upon CO, and the grant would need to be repaid in half or in full.
I say,
Half sounds.
I think,
Okay.
yeah, if the business closes within the first,
12 months.
I was just saying, do we want to do a year or 2 years?
For $100,000, I think, well, 2 years. So if, within the 2 years, if it doesn't work or something happens, it needs to close, and a repayment of 50% of that amount to the paddock. Contingent upon CO, contingent upon operation for 2 years, not contingent upon invoices, but CO. Any questions about that or discussion of that motion? Do I have a second?
I'll second what you said because I couldn't do it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Beverly.
Thank
And Jim.
And thank you for your patience as we parsed all that out.
No, thank you. Thank
Look
you
forward
so
to
much.
going through the detail that you provided. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
Tell your friends, right?
Lots to read.
At this time, we'll discuss and consider a site enhancement matching grant program for 705 Eastmore, and for that, I'll call on Raylan.
So last month, Alex came and met with you about a new sign for Hickory Roots, which I think we were all excited about. This month, he wanted to make sure that you approved of the facade of the sign and the setup. So he's just bringing this back to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Alex. I'm here on behalf of Hickory Roots and Eddie Dean. I did bring the invoice for the company that we decided to go with. And I also have a copy of what the design is going to look like, what it looked like prior. There's no panels there now because the storm took them out, but just what the sign looked like prior to those coming out. And on those forms, it'll show what we've paid so far. So we've reached the 50%. We've submitted our permit around 3 weeks ago, so we're just waiting to hear back on that. And then other than that, they have started to create our sign. It's just the panels and the lighting that we're getting done because the lighting's blown out too, so we're getting that replaced, and then we're getting the sign panels that fit into the sign that's already there.
Do I recall that you all were changing the kind of lighting it was?
We're not changing the lighting. It's gonna be the same lighting that was in there. We're just replacing it. Yeah, yes, correct, yeah. It was not lit up at all.
So this is the rendering, this is what the new paint.
That is the new copy on,
This is the new one.
yes, that's the,
Instead of the existing.
and that's the, yeah, the previous one.
All right, the item before you is a request of $1,500 on a total expense of $3,237 for sign reimbursement. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I have one question.
Please.
We did discuss, I think we decided that that is part of downtown.
Oh, I wasn't at the last meeting.
Yes,
We,
Okay.
we kind of fudged,
Okay.
I think you could say, but
You looked at it as the transition and also the entrances off of Highway 80. So the way that your grant applications are written is that you can consider that as long as it's along Highway 80 coming into downtown core. Yeah.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the $1,500 reimbursement.
Thank you, Hillary. Is there a second? Thank you, JC. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you guys so
Thank
much.
you.
Alex, do you need your?
I mean, if you guys want me to help, but I'll take it. Just do-
They made copies.
Yeah.
Thank
The
you.
ladies made copies for all of us,
wonderful. Okay.
so we have them.
Thank you so much.
All right, at this time, we'll discuss and consider a Ben Gill Park disc golf proposal, and for that, I'll call on Glenn.
Good morning, Mr. President, Board. Do we have is it posted on the, can you pull that up, please? Thank you, Peyton. This particular item was brought forward at one of your previous meetings a couple of times. I'll be very short. The disc golf, there were some recommendations, some things that was recommended to be changed, revised on the design layout for this particular project. And in your packet, you've got two options, version A and version B. And the differences is hole 6. So if we scan the hole 6, take a revisit of hole 6 on the particular plan in the version A. As you can see, it runs parallel to the walking trail there. And if you go to version B, I believe if I remember, it crosses the trail at a different location there. Well, no, that's, hole 6 looks to be the same to me. Or it's, hole 2, I'm sorry, hole 2.
It was the one that crossed the.
Hole 2,
street.
cross, yes, there, on the Lions Club.
Yeah, yeah.
One of the things that we had an opportunity to talk to the park board last night and receive some input from them. In the very back of this presentation, we had a chance to visit Waco, and they have 2 courses on the Brazos River. And if we go over it, if you click on that link, Brazos Park East, if you're able to click on that link, what you'll see is their courses run parallel to the main thoroughfare that runs through the park. And it crosses in various areas, pedestrian locations, as well as vehicular entrances and exits. So you have ingress and egress both ways. So your opinion is valid. Your decision in whether you want to move forward with a particular project like this is up to you, but I don't think it impacts one way or the other, because the individuals that participate in this particular sport, they're amazing. They're amazing. They're very respectful. You know, you got to consider your participants in all aspects of sporting event. Some people are reckless. I don't believe in my heart we'll probably encounter any reckless participants in disc golf. So I'll open up. We did include, do you have the handout with the cost? You have already handed that out. You've seen this before. We received 3 quotes. One was, I'm sorry? We solicited, I'm sorry. Thank you, Ms. Hazel. Thank you. We solicited for 3. We received 2 quotes. Chandler Construction was the lowest. Texas Civil was the second lowest, and obviously, this is Turnkey. And I believe at the last meeting, you got a chance to see the baskets and so forth. So, and that cost is included as well in procuring those items. Did you want to go through that real quick for me? You can do it. Come on, Dora. So Dora Trejo is a part of Public Services now, and she's going to do a little presenting.
Hey, Laura.
Hi, previously admin, now public services. So what I just showed you on that screen is the Brazos, it's considered called the Beast.
Talking to the microphone, Dora.
Sorry. It is the course out in Waco. It's called the Beast, and it gives you an example of what Glenn was just explaining of the crossing of a street or, the little road on Ben Gill. This particular course runs right next to a roadway as well as the Brazos River over on that side. We are hopefully to incorporate something like this on our website with a smart layout. It explains, if you scroll down, it shows the layout of each hole, and it gives you all the information. If you play disc golf, I'm sure you'll know, I guess, how hard it is to make from one to the other and all that good information. So it's a pretty neat idea that we'd love to incorporate eventually also onto our website.
So will there be signage? 'Cause
Yes,
we
sir.
talked about that before. Someone said using an app versus actually having signage on.
We would recommend both options. Most courses have both.
I know a lot of people don't want to download an app for every activity.
Exactly.
You know what I
That's
mean?
correct.
So,
Yes,
okay.
sir. We're hoping to do the signage in-house. So we do have a sign team that does multiple things as well, but we feel like we can incorporate that internally.
Patty, do you recall any other discussion from the park board input on this?
No, my opinion is that if we go with B, where it crosses, what is that, Snow,
Randy Snow Court.
Randy Snow, it goes to the swimming pool, that I think that the people, in my experience, the people going to be using this is like Glenn said, they look at they're going to be careful about what they do. They're not going to want to ruin their, $75 deal that they throw. So I don't think it matters if it crosses that road or not. Now, it wouldn't matter if it was Knott Street or Moore or something like that, but this little street right here, I don't think that's a big deal. I don't know if there's any future plans with the Parks Department to change this layout in the future, but it would be an easy fix to change the route of the throwing or that actual par on that hole. So if you wanted to go straight or you wanted to go across the street, it doesn't matter to me.
And the designer, Ezekiel, whom you all met, he prefers the option, version A, of course, but he's very receptive to either or.
Because the more obstacles you have, the better, but.
Is the parks board looking to participate in this financially? Do they want a piece of the action? Did y'all discuss
The
that?
Parks Board had money.
Okay. I didn't know
But
if this was a shared project or if they're asking us to fund it.
I can share with you there will be additional costs, and the Public Services Department is planning on contributing the differences of costs. I believe there's in the proposal, there was $750, which covered, no, that's the wrong project. I'm sorry, different project.
It's okay.
Different project. We have a bunch. I'm sorry. For an example, the signage, right? There's no cost in here for the signage. We're taking that burden on internally. That's one of the things we're going to be doing.
Would someone like to make a motion for this item?
Before we do that, I'm sorry, Matt.
No, you go ahead.
What's the difference in I didn't see this last night, so what is the difference between Texas Civil Construction and Bobby Chandler? Why is there such a big difference?
Texas Civil, probably their work staff. Bobby Construction, Chandler Construction is a much smaller company. Texas Civil, they do large, huge projects. So that's why you're seeing the difference. They don't have the volume of equipment. It's just a smaller company. And they're local. They're a local company. And Texas Civil has done tons of utility work here. Well, both companies have worked around here.
So the quality of work's same?
100%. Yes, sir.
But really, it's just buying the materials and setting them. And this isn't a major skilled construction project, is it?
That is, well,
It's just setting them up. It's not like there's a,
exactly. You're right. It's
No.
not it's,
well, yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure that it wasn't like a, it's not, right, it's a relatively simple,
it's a very simple project.
So-
It really is.
okay.
Just time and materials. That's where your cost is.
And we're going local versus larger with Bobby.
With the larger company, right. Large company versus a small company.
Okay.
That's what you're looking at. And the work, I'm sorry. What's the timeline? We're anticipating probably should take 2 weeks, 3 weeks to get all of this in. Of course, you're gonna have to order, ma'am.
Starting when?
This is one of those we can probably start within a week or two. Once we receive approval, we'll get the baskets ordered. We'll have them order the baskets and install. They're ready to go. So,
Further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the $17,000 from Bobby Chandler Construction, the low bid as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
And I'm getting signaling that we need to decide on option A or option B on the course layout. Do we have strong opinions one way or the other on that?
I don't.
Okay. We'll defer to city staff's recommendation.
thank you, Ms. Secretary.
Also, just as a note, I'm very excited about this. I was talking about it yesterday at work, and everybody was like, nobody plays disc golf. Like, people at work were excited about it. So I really think this is going to be something that we have that other people in the area don't have, and I think it's going to be a good get.
Hillary's going to ask for a disc golf set for Christmas.
That's right.
All right.
Maybe we can expand it to an 18-hole in the future if it is successful.
Great idea. Next on the agenda, we will to discuss and consider soccer and softball field irrigation.
Putting you up there?
Yes.
For that, I'll
See
call
what
on
happens
Glenn.
when Cornell leaves, you have to talk.
I'm supposed to be a guest today. So I believe we're talking about irrigation. So we were asked to bring forward a cost estimate for irrigation for soccer, and I believe it was for softball. So you have those with you, and I do not have. Because the question was asked, what does the cost look like? And I know we gave you estimates previous, but now you have real-time cost estimates. We estimated the cost for irrigation for the soccer to be about $120,000. And as you can see, you've got a quote in here that says it's $123,000 for, I'm sorry? Yeah, $123,000 for
123 for soccer.
for the soccer and $121,000 for softball complex. And if you decide to go with one or the other, then we will move forward with a request for proposal. If one of these gets your attention, you want us to move forward with them.
Okay, so the idea is this gives us a general idea of cost, but you would ask for 3 bids
That's correct.
for the actual project. Okay.
That's correct, yes, ma'am.
So is this something, board, that we want to pursue? And do we want to do one, the other, or both?
Okay, does this include maintenance?
Of course not. No, ma'am. No, it does not.
So who's going to do that?
We will take on that burden along with the maintenance for the current irrigation systems in-house. We do have some contracting funds available to assist with that, as well as our team is very, very capable of managing irrigation repairs. We've done it at the baseball complex and
Okay.
other places,
Oh,
so.
okay. Is the baseball complex the only place that we have irrigation? Well, probably City Hall, maybe.
City Hall, yes, ma'am.
Anywhere else?
Uh,
Yeah, downtown.
Downtown, of course, thanks to Paddock and Raylan and her team, we have a successful irrigation system finally, which, we feel like it's gonna last a while. Yeah, with confidence, yeah. I'm looking that direction because that's, downtown was a tough project. That was amazing, so.
I know we had a discussion when we did the bathrooms, and I seem to remember, and maybe I'm just remembering wrong, that the issue of plumbing and sizes of water lines and all that came back up when we were talking about irrigation. So can you tell us, like, are we equipped already to put in this system or with what we currently have out there, or would that require additional water lines?
It will not require any additional water mains. We have water mains adjacent to the soccer as well as the softball complex. If memory serves me, the 8-inch, there's an 8-inch main running parallel to Colquitt, which is just inside the right-of-way. If you go down Colquitt and the soccer complex is there, the water main's right there. So we just do a tap. And taps can be done by a contractor or in-house. Yeah.
Is the high school baseball field irrigated?
Yes, it is. Yes, ma'am.
Do they maintain that?
They do. That's correct.
So this would include all of the softball field and all of the soccer fields?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay, how many
Well,
soccer fields do we have?
Well, it depends on what the layout is. For an example, there's moments where they'll have 6 soccer fields laid out. There's moments where they'll have 4 soccer fields laid out. Remember, we have an interlocal agreement with the school district, the Excel Center. They assist with managing the soccer program, so they lay out the fields accordingly. With what we're proposing, I think I showed you all a map way back, which we can bring that back to you. I believe we had a setup of 4 youth fields and 2 I guess we'll call them larger event fields at that time. And so it can vary. It depends. The layout's gonna be determined. It'll have to be more fixed once we get the irrigation in, but they'll still have the flexibility and latitude to move the fields around depending on the number of events, number of participants, or number of fields they need.
So basically, we just gonna cover.
We're gonna cover the soccer area. That's correct. Yes, sir.
Does the football field have irrigation, the practice field?
It does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's correct.
My initial reaction is that we consider the funding of the soccer fields this year and perhaps delay the softball fields to another budget year, just so we can split up the cost, and also to see how the soccer field system goes for us before we go all in on both. I think soccer's needed more, is my opinion.
Yeah.
Can I make a recommendation, Ms. President and Board? If you guys move forward with the soccer, can we do a RFP for soccer, request for proposal for soccer, and then have an alternate for the softball? Therefore, if we potentially have the opportunity to marry the two, and let's say I'm being excited about this. Let's say the bid comes in at $175,000 or $180,000 because we're marrying the two to reduce the cost. Then we could consider it,
Yeah, I mean, we're not.
if you're okay with that.
Absolutely. We're
Okay.
just getting bids. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know that you need a motion. We're not spending any money yet, but if you'll please proceed with getting the bids for both as you just described, that would be helpful.
Yes, Mr. President.
All right,
Thank you.
look forward to hearing from you, hopefully at the next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. No, this takes more time?
It'll take more time, because we're gonna have to prepare the RFP.
Okay.
We're gonna have to advertise it. It's a formal process
Okay.
of bidding. Ma'am?
60 days?
Probably that,
We'll shoot for it.
we'll shoot for it. We're gonna go for it. We're gonna go for it. Yes, ma'am.
Demeter's awesome. Thank you.
All right.
We're gonna
Thank you, Glenn. All right, any other business from the board?
Did y'all bring pictures for us on the soccer field? I mean, on the tennis court?
Oh, yes, we did.
One of the discussions that we had at the park board last night, he presented the final whatever to the park board that we had decided on the colors and everything. And on the tennis courts, it's going to be netted all the way around, okay? That's their proposal, is to be netted all the way around. If you see in the picture, she's pulling it up. The course is laid out, but at the top of the deal, it's got Terrell in white letters and at the bottom, and it looks kind of, look. Doesn't that look kind of weird with the white letters?
It's not that exciting.
What if they moved Terrell to put it onto the nets and left Terrell off of the field?
Off of the course and just put it. If you do it on the nets, I feel like maybe it can be a little more exciting. I mean, that's not a logo, that's not just telling people where they are. Yeah.
Maybe larger.
Larger, maybe Terrell Tennis, maybe, hate to do a logo because then it'll change, but.
No. Veto.
Second veto.
But I think you make a good point. That, I mean, at some point, that's gonna get torn up, right? The fences, maybe it'll fade, but it won't get, I don't know.
Well, and the white's going to be hard to maintain,
Okay.
keep clean.
Yeah, that's the park board's recommendation.
So would we want to put Terrell on on the side of the tennis courts?
I mean, I think it's gonna look the same. I think
Do we want to just do one Terrell? I mean, this is just questions that we didn't answer.
You ought to do it at both ends.
See, she's saying both ends.
So I'm not a great tennis player, but I know a little bit about tennis. The tennis balls are yellow, but if you got Terrell on the fence behind the field of play, it could potentially generate distraction, especially with our school districts performing at this. We want them to maximize the ability to be successful. I would recommend to the board, not that it matters, to put it on the side. So it's not in the field of play visual.
on the fencing on the
On the
side,
side, yes, ma'am.
and then leave it off the courts altogether, and just have traditional green and blue
Right.
courts.
You made your case.
We're not that difficult, I promise.
I want what you guys want, right?
Sometimes
I think this looks, I think this looks clean, and I think that's good.
Thank you. Glenn, thank you, Patty. Anything else? Yes, Dora?
Oh, yeah. We want to pass this out just to let y'all know that this is coming up. It's going to be a great deal. I know I'm going to share this with my Kiwanis kids. I think this will be so much fun. We do this in Garland every year, and it's a huge deal. The kids love it. It's so much fun.
Great idea.
sponsors this.
So this
We do,
event,
the city of Terrell and the Texas Parks and
can I
Wildlife.
pull it down?
No, ma'am. We've always done it with the Texas Parks and Wildlife. We've done it for several years. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Dora wants to do a quick, is it okay if she do a quick?
I didn't. Okay, so this is the Take Me Fishing event at Ben Gill Park Pond, which will be held January 11th in 2025. It's going to be specifically for anglers 16 and younger. We do not require that they have a fishing license. Texas law states that anybody 17 and older must have one, so if adults are going to come and help, we do encourage it, but we will have to see fishing licenses. Each person can take 5 fish home. And again, like Glenn mentioned, we are working with Texas Parks and Wildlife. They're going to bring over approximately 1,000 rainbow trout for this event. It will be free. There's no registration required for it. It's just a fun day to come out and have fun at the park. That's the time that Texas Parks and Wildlife was able to, yes, ma'am.
Very good. Sorry, I'm looking up tennis court designs. All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, thank you.